Welcome, YouTube. This is Detroit's Darkest Times. Today we're going to talk about lost friends, and I won't be able to put everybody in this, but I'll have some, and it's just remembering your lost friends basically, and I'm just gonna say their name and just one thing that I remember that we had did together. But we've done a lot of things together, each one of these people. But I'm just gonna just remembering friends that I've lost, and I'm just gonna say their name and one thing that we did together. So before we get started, let's subscribe, hit the like and the notification bell. And the first one I'm going to mention is Bob in Detroit, Michigan, owner of Cozy Co's Bar. He was a good friend of mine over the years, and he was just an all-around good person. And he was Irish, and he was a good guy. And the story that one of the times that we had is where me and him partied together, and he showed me, several magic tricks at the bar. And he was an older gentleman, so, he knew a lot of magic tricks and stuff like that. The one night that I partied with him, he was just showing me some magic tricks with cards and shot glass, stuff like that. And also, he was a funder for my plumbing business. And what I mean by that is he helped fund the business that I had. And he was just a real good dude. And I've met a lot of good people in my time, and he's one of them. And you can ask anybody in the neighborhood, and this bar is located on Otis off of Livernois in Detroit, Michigan. And it's called Cozy Co's Bar. So just remembering him, there's a lot of things that, we've done in that bar, and we've had many parties in that bar, stuff like that. And he was just always welcome you, and stuff like that. He was just a real good dude. And his wife, I've met her, a few times, and she was real nice. But mostly him, and Toots is the one. The Toots was the barmaid there at the time. And later on, after he passed, a couple more friends that I knew from the neighborhood, they actually was working at the bar, I imagine for his wife, and so this was Ricky and Gina from Detroit City. My next friend that I'm going to mention is Mike David. he was a friend, but he was also a brother of the streets of Detroit, of mine. He was a good dude. Everybody liked him. I ain't never ran into nobody that didn't like him. And he also communicated with people really well. Like if he got in a conversation with you, it was going to be a conversation. You know what I mean? It wasn't just going to be one of them hi, bye, see you later. You know what I mean? So, and also he helped me on with the plumbing business and stuff like that in Detroit. And me and him was like, you know, we hung around all the time, day and night, and did a number of things. And on another video, I may get into some long stories about some of my friends. But this is just me calling them out, remembering good things we did together, and just putting it on my channel because it's part of my story. But Mike was a good dude. I remember one time on off of Trumbull Avenue, and this is in my old neighborhood. We used to go back to that neighborhood a lot. And we had friends that still lived in that neighborhood. But anyways, me and Mike David, we had an incident over there. Well, basically he did really, but I kind of did because I was involved in it. But we got had an incident with Detroit's Finest. And I've talked about this on a previous video of mine. But what had happened is me, him, and another friend of mine, Bo, we was over in the old neighborhood visiting a store owner over there, Roger, on Trumbull and Selden. And we all, had drinks and stuff like that, and we was on our way back. And I had my friend Bo driving my car. And when we circled the block, went down Selden to Grand River, and then Grand River to Trumbull. And when he turned on Trumbull, the back tire went over the curb, he turned a little bit too early. But I think he was nervous because the Detroit's Finest was right there in the turning lane, getting ready to turn on off of Trumbull onto Grand River. And they seen him do that, so they turned their lights on, circled around. And then my friend Bo, he asked me, he was like, hey, you want me to leave him? And I said, nah, man, you can't do that. I said, you need to pull over. They'll let us go, And so he gets up to a side street on Trumbull called Ash. And I said, turn over here and then pull over. So he pulls over, and they get behind us, and then they come to the window and they get us all out the car, and they tell everybody put their hands on the trunk. And my friend Mike, I was, intoxicated. He was well intoxicated. And then my driver just, I think, had one drink or something. It wasn't, that's the reason he was driving. But anyways, my friend Mike got out the car, and when we was all had our hands on the car, my friend Mike kept telling him, I know my rights, and he was just well intoxicated is what the deal was. And then that Detroit police officer had a big black flashlight, and we're all, leaned over the car, so he hits him in the stomach with the flashlight. And then he starts throwing up, because he's been drinking for a long time, you know. And but that's just an incident we had. We had many of them, different scenarios and stuff like that. But after it happened, we all laughed about it and stuff like that. And because what they had told us, we had to put the keys in the trunk, leave the car there, and then y'all had to walk. And my driver, he kept saying, he was able to drive, but the problem was he didn't have no driver's license, and I didn't know that. But anyways, they made us walk. So, and then, that was just one incident that happened. So, me and Mike, we had a lot of, good times together and stuff like that. And we were good friends, but we was also brothers too. So if anybody knows anything about having a good friend or brother, sometimes you're going to have, disputes, whether it be disagreeing on something or disagreeing on a football game or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? And me and him had that, but we was tight, Anyways, my next friend is Coslow. And his name's Cos, but his mama and family calls him Coslow. And anyways, he's lived in Delray in Detroit, Michigan. And me and him used to go over there and hang out at the park. It was kind of close to his mom's old house that she was. They were getting ready to move into another house off a junction. And this is actually a 2-story house with a basement that she had bought. Her and her husband had bought it. And we actually, did all the plumbing in it and things like that, But anyways, Kaz, he was cool. We used to go to that park, hang out, have a beer, talk, stuff like that. And he told me he met this girl in the neighborhood. He nicknamed her Baby Cakes. I think he did. I don't know why, if he nicknamed her that just for not to mention her name, or if that was just a nickname he had for her, But anyways, me and him had a lot of, get-togethers and stuff like that. And I actually went to, his dad worked for Conrail, the railroad company. And they had a company party, and it's where you bring your family and stuff like that. And so they took me along with them. And we went to that big outdoor place, and it was, just a bunch of food and a lot of people gathering that worked at the company and all that. And it was a good gathering, stuff like that. But there's many stories about Kyle's. He's a good guy. And one story in particular, I'll say that he enjoyed driving a Cadillac, and also he enjoyed checking oil. And I'll keep it at that. And I'll get into stories later on about each one of these, and it'd be like multiple stories. But this is just remembering my lost friends, and just in remembrance of them, and telling a story or two about them that I had encountered with them. All right, the next dude is Chief. He's a Cherokee Indian. He was a friend, and he's been around for many years. And actually, he took me to my first baseball game at Tiger Stadium, the old Tiger Stadium, on Trumbull and Michigan Avenue. And so that was cool, But I got a lot of stories with him too, and he was just an all-around good guy. He was a big lottery player. He liked to play the lottery a lot. He won a lot, but he liked to play the lottery. That was something he enjoyed doing. And he was a bar dude. If he wasn't partying at his house, he was always at the bar. If he wasn't working, And he's a guy. And these people that I mentioned right here, everybody liked these people. They were good people. And I hate it that they're gone now. But all these people I mentioned are great people, good people. And you can't find nobody that would say something bad about them. It's just that it was just their nature. They were just good people that made a lot of friends and stuff like that. And, and I was one of their friends, and they were one of my friends, But he was a good person, stuff like that. Then I'm going to go to Little Huck. Little Huck is a nickname for a dude named John in Detroit, Michigan. And the way he got that name is he'd get intoxicated, and this guy was real like the Hulk, but he was not a real tall guy, and he wasn't a short guy neither, but he was like medium sized, but he was really strong, had a lot of muscles and all that. And when he'd get intoxicated, he would jump out on Trumbull Avenue because, back in them days, everybody hung out on the front porch partying and stuff like that. But anyways, he'd get intoxicated, and he would jump in front of city buses that would be coming down Trumbull Avenue and just flexing his muscles and growling and stuff like that, And the bus would actually stop, wait till he got finished, and then he'd get out the way and the bus would move on, And and the bus drivers, they'd be shaking their head and stuff like that. I guess they thought he was crazy. And in some sense, I guess he might have been, but he was a good dude. And that's where he got that name, the Little Huck, at. Because back then it was Huck on TV, and the Huck, and that's where he got it from, because he had all the muscles and all that. But, he was a character. He worked for a meat company and lifted, heavy boxes all the time with meat in them and stuff like that. Then delivered it to different places and all that. But that's what he did until, and he actually met this lady named Sheila. And Sheila had a twin sister. I used to get them mixed up because one time I seen her over there, and he said, "That ain't Sheila, that's her sister." And but anyways, he ended up marrying a lady named Sheila, and we had went to their wedding. They got married on Butternut and Trumbull. There's a church on Butternut, and they had got married right there. And at this time, they lived on Temple in Trumbull on the second floor of an apartment place. But also, I got many stories about him over the years, and he was a good dude. You know, and just the little Huck, that's where he got his name from, jumping in front of city buses. Good thing a bus never ran him over. But he had passed away also. But uh, and but he was a good dude. Then I got Bert Hicks. Bert Hicks was a friend of mine from military, and he lived on Hammond. But we used to hang out sometimes, and had different incidents together. I mean, one time me and him met up, and the Detroit's Finest pulled up, and there was two of them in the car. One of them got out. The driver stayed in the car, and he was hollering at Bert, and he was like, "Hey, Bert, come here. I want to talk to you about something." And at this time, Bert just had tennis shoes, socks, shorts, and a tank top on. So Bert starts walking back because he ain't gonna participate in nothing that Detroit Finest wants to do. But anyways, he holds his tank top up, and he says, "I ain't got no weapon." And he turns in a circle, and then he said, "No, I just want to talk to you." So he just turns around and jets, takes off running. So I don't know what the officer wanted with him. And then after he took off, he was walked back to his car because he was like walking toward him, but he was a ways away from him. And this is before tasers and all that was available. But anyways, I asked him, was I free to go? Because to me it seemed like they was trying to, detain us or whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, you free to go." And so I just continued on my journey where I was going. But that was an incident we had, and you know, but he was real popular with them guys, and things like that. But he was a good dude. Everybody liked him, and I never heard anybody say anything bad about him or nothing like that. He was just a straight up dude, and he wasn't a drinker, But one time I had offered him a beer when we was out playing horseshoes. He had stopped by just to say what's up and all that, and I offered him a beer, and he was like, "I don't drink, but seeing it's you, I'll go ahead and kill this right quick, but I gotta go." And he always had to go. He couldn't stay in one place too long. But anyways, he took 2 swallows of that beer, and it was gone. And so that possibly could have been the only beer he drunk, because he wasn't a drinker. And but he was a cool dude, and he's well missed too. And I got many stories with him also. And also my girl Sherry Soulsby. Man, she was a good person, I'm telling you. And me and her were real tight. We was friends, brothers and sisters, and everything above. You know what I mean? We was just that tight. And she was just a good person, and I hated that she is gone today, but she's another person that everybody liked. Nobody had no issues with her. You know, I never heard her say that she had issues with anybody. You know, she got along with people and, stuff like that. And she was a good person. And, me and her had a lot of good times together and stuff like that. And she was just a all around good person. And, nobody could say anything bad about her. She's just a real good person, And she's well missed and thought about often. Okay, my next one is a friend that's Michael Borowski. He's from Detroit, Michigan, military. And me and him, we had some situations together, you know what I mean? And when he was a young cat, he had like solid red hair. but he was a cool dude. And I remember when he was young and I was young. We was both young. And I remember one time I was going with this girl, and I had broke up with her. And then later he seen me in the neighborhood, and he was like, "Come here, I want to talk to you." And I was like, "What's up?" So me and him both crossed over the street because we was on two sides of the street. We kind of met in the middle of military. And he said, "Hey, man," he said, "I just want you to know that me and old girl's together now." And I was like, "Oh, yeah?" And, and I wasn't with her, he just, I guess, asked her to go with him and she said yes or whatever. But I wasn't with her. But then, I don't know, I think a week later, she come up to me and started talking to me. And then me and her walked around the block, and then by the time we got around the block, then me and her was back together, and then she, called it off with him. And this is when we was real young guys, so it wasn't like we was grown or anything like that. But anyways, that's one story that we had, and we had multiple situations, and then one time he took a road trip with me, and this is way after that, some years after that. And then he took a road trip with me down 75, and this was like a 9-hour road trip. And he stayed with me for a week, and then I brought him back, about 9 hours back. So we spent plenty of time together. We laughed and joked and talked about all different kinds of stuff in the neighborhood, just all kinds of stuff, because we was together for a whole week, But he was a good dude, and he's well missed by a lot of people, including myself. And he was a good dude, and I just wanted to, say that, all these people are well missed by me and a lot of other people. And these are just good people, you know what I mean? And had good hearts, good souls, friendly, just good people all around. But and that one incident with the girl, me and him was real young at the time. I think we're like, geez, I don't know. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 12 years old or something. I know I was like 12, and if he's younger than me, he was younger than that. But I'm not for sure. I'm not really certain on his age and stuff. But his sisters knows the age difference, I'm sure. But that was just one incident we had. And really, after that, me and him became cool. After that, really, after the girl incident, and but yeah, he took that long trip with me. We spent some time together. We talked about a lot of stuff in the neighborhood, joked around, just spent some serious time together. You know what I mean? Where a lot of friends, if they don't take a road trip together or something like that, they only just seeing each other here and there. It's very important to spend time with your friends as much as you can, even if you're going to the bar together or whatever you're doing together. Just try to spend as much time with your friends as you can, because tomorrow's not promised, you know. And but he's a cool cat, and he's well missed. My next one is Terry Dupree. Terry Dupree is a Golden Glove boxer that used to knock out a lot of people in Detroit City. And not just for the fun of it, it would be like guys would try to, rob them, or, thought they was going to, get over on them, or whatever the case might be, just different scenarios. And he would just hit them one time and knock them clean out. So actually, when I first started seeing Mike Tyson fight, Mike Tyson actually reminded me of Terry Dupree, because that's what kind of cat he was. And because guys would just try him that didn't know him, and it's different incidents like trying to rob him and stuff like that, and he would just lay him out and just keep on going and just leave him laying there. So that's what kind of dude he was. And but he was a real good dude, and he never started nothing with nobody. But if somebody came at him sideways, they can look to see some birds flying around their head and stuff like that, because he was no cat to mess with. He would lay you out. And but anyways, he was also a good dude and stuff like that. And he's well missed.